Hello, my friends. In this episode, we are doing a few things. We're going to start off with a donator pack giveaway for everybody who's commented with their Torn game IDs in the comments of my recent YouTube videos, episodes 6 through 9. We're also going to cover a really quick company update for my lingerie store because my friends have been asking about it, and I figure might as well share with everyone how that's going. And then we're going to get into an introduction to racing. I'm not an expert on racing, but I'm just going to give a quick introduction to everyone of how it works and what you need to get started. Because a friend of mine is hosting a big racing event, and there are over $20 million in donations for prizes already. So the top racers will get prizes. Also, just random participants will be receiving prizes. So you don't have to win the race to win a prize, and it'll be open to everyone. All right, so let's jump into this donator pack giveaway. We've got my wheel of names here, and I've got 55 entries from episodes 6 through 9. Let's see who wins a donator pack. Yeah! All right, Voidbox, that's awesome. This player is active in our Discord chat, and they're a fun member of the group, so I'm excited to see this go to somebody who's really active in our Discord chat. Let me jump over to my other view here, and so Voidbox is getting their donator pack here. Nice. And as always, to make sure that you're entered in for these donator pack giveaways, add a comment and include your Torn player ID. And here's for a quick company update. So this is the lingerie store that my friends and I have started. We are a month and a week old and are currently sitting at 4 stars, which is, everything has been going very well. I think the first 4 to 6 stars are going to be the easiest, and after that, the competition gets a lot more fierce. So I don't think there's anything too much to be proud of, but everything is going very smoothly. We're fully staffed. A lot of friends reach out and ask if they can join. I wanted to mention this here for YouTube that we already have it's a short waiting list right now, but we're not having any turnover, so I don't really see a need for there to be much of a waiting list to get in. Anyway, so we're fully staffed and nobody seems to be leaving anytime soon, so it'll be a while before we have any openings. Let me go over to the company's details here. I would say for the last 3 weeks, we've gotten an extra star every week in a row, so I'm not expecting that to continue, but pretty quick we've jumped up a bunch of stars. Our weekly income is sitting around $12.5 million per week, which is pretty good. If we look at the income chart here, it was really high to start off with because I had, as you saw in the last video, had everybody set to salespeople and a couple trainees. After getting some advice from an employee of mine when we were talking about it, and it seemed like a good idea to change a couple employees into the HR officer role, because having effective employees in that role gives you additional trains that you can use to train your employees. And with having a few trainees who weren't able to be effective in the salesperson role, it made sense to get some extra trains. And even still now, I still have a few. But even since the last video of talking about this, all of our trainees have been promoted to salespeople, and I did change one of the HR officers into a salesperson as well. So I went down from 3 to 2 HR officers. So with having 4 stars, I get 4 trains from that way. But with these 2 HR officers, I get 3 extra trains from having them. So I get a total of 7 trains per day, even though I'm only at 4 stars, which is a pretty cool perk. And overall, our profitability is still good enough to be getting the stars that we've needed lately. I just love looking down and seeing all the high numbers for effectiveness. So excited. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got another star or 2 pretty easily in the next few weeks, but I'm just really expecting the competition to get a lot more fierce and having to lower my prices and hike up my advertising budget and stuff like that. So that's really it for my quick company update. And next, before we get into racing and the racing event that a friend of mine is helping host for us and kind of give an overview to racing, before we get into that, I'm just going to give everybody a reminder and request to please hit that like button for me. It really helps me out a lot, and it'll help other people reach this channel. And just know that I really appreciate all of you so much who hit that like button and leave comments and help support the channel. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. So first of all, I want to say that I do not consider myself an expert on the subject of racing in Torn City. I have gotten most of the merits that you can get. I don't think I've gotten them all, but I know I've gotten most of the merits that you can get for racing. Wrecking your car, winning 100 races, getting to Class A. The A class is the highest class in racing. But I do know the basics, and that's just what I want to share with you all, because I've got a lot of newer friends who don't know anything really about racing, and so I just want to give them a easy introduction so that anybody watching who wants to join this racing event can do so, even if they haven't even purchased their racing license yet. So first of all, in the points shop, you do have to purchase a racing license first in order to be able to race in Torn City. The purchase cost is 50 points, which is in the ballpark of $2.5 million. So there is a small expense for that, or for some players that can be maybe for some players that's not too small of an expense. It is a couple $1 million. I do want to point out that you do not require, or you're not required to have a driver's license, interestingly enough, to race. The driver's license is something that you can obtain through an education course in general education, I believe, and it is required for certain crimes that you want to commit. You have to have a driver's license if you want to do them. So the driver's license you don't need, that's through education. The racing license costs 50 points, or around $2.5 million worth of points. Now, once you have that, you also have to enlist a car so that you can have cars available to race. Now, before we talk about picking your first car, I would say that when you start racing, you're in Class E, and there are 5 classes. The entry-level class is E, and then D, C, B, and A. So it's just A through E, where A is the top class and E is the entry-level bottom class. There are cars that are, each car is in a specific class, and when you are only Class E. You can't use a Class A car in a Class E race. You can only use cars that are available to you based on the class that you're in. And you start out in Class E. So the recommended cars for that are either the Volvo 850 or the Honda Civic. Actually, maybe before talking more about racing in general, I'll talk about the details of this race. So a friend of mine, Equilibrium, I forget how he spells it, but a friend of mine regularly hosts casual and competitive races for his faction already, and is inviting our friends from the Dollhouse, to come join them in some of their Saturday races. This race will require a $100,000 entry fee to contribute to the prize pool, as well as having a lot of generous donations from several players. I've contributed to the donation pool, and in total, there's over $20 million donated so far. I'm sure we might get some more. And then, of course, with the entry fees from everybody, that'll add up to a lot of money as well. The race will be Saturday, October 29th at 6 p.m. Torn time, or 1800 TCT. The race is Class E only and stock cars only. So it's the most entry-level race. Absolutely anybody can participate. Only base cars without any upgrades are allowed to participate. So everything is going to be based purely on racing skill. And if you want to sign up, I'll include, there's a Google sheet that Equilibrium set up for the race. So I'll link that Google sheet in the description below. That'll be the sign-up sheet. Once the race is over, I'll probably remove it. So you got to be quick to this video because this race is coming up in just a week. So if you're new to racing, then you're in Class E, and it's recommended that you start off with the Volvo 850 or the Honda Civic. Once you purchase the vehicle, go to your inventory and select that item and go to Action It and enlist that item. Once you have your car purchased, you can go to the Torn City Raceway. If you aren't familiar with how to navigate to that, you can go to the city. And I like to, when I look at the quick links section, this is how I usually navigate you can look at the map. And that's more fun if you're dealing with faction territory or when you're searching the map to see what items you have found in the city. But I really like this quick links section for navigating to my favorite areas of the city that I like to go to. You can sort this by different ways. You can sort it by area, geographically, which I really don't like personally. You can sort it by type, which is pretty good. I like that. That's probably my favorite, where it sorts them by color. You can sort them alphabetically by name, which is kind of nice if you just want to look alphabetically. I've never used that, though, just because it looks like a mess. Maybe just because the alphabet goes left to right, and then it goes down to the next row left to right. It's not like a list where you can look top to top. You can't look top to bottom in each column. And then popularity, which also kind of looks like a mess to me. I don't know. I just stick to the type. And the raceway is in the green section for leisure. Here it is at the bottom. So once you've purchased your racing license for 50 points and you've purchased a car, you can come here to the Torn City Raceway and enter in for your first race. There are official races and custom races. Official races are what you do to gain racing points, and you use racing points to purchase upgrades for your vehicle, for your car. So If we scroll down here are my enlisted cars. So I think I have probably some of the most common cars for each class. A, B, C, D, 2 cars for Class D for some reason, and 1 Class E car. And if you look at these, especially my Sierra Cosworth, I've put the most points into. The first bit of each bar is how much that car naturally has in that category. And then the green portion of the bar is however much you've gotten of a boost in that category from the upgrades that you've put into the car. And so you can see my Sierra Cosworth I've put a lot of upgrades into. A stock car is meant to refer to a car that has no upgrades at all. So the race that we've got coming up is a Class E stock car race. One important piece of information for racing has to do with the different types of racetracks. So there are tarmac and dirt tracks. In other words, tarmac is like a paved road, and a dirt track is just that. It's dirt. Now, some cars perform much better on tarmac, and some cars are much better performers on dirt. So depending on the race that you're doing, that can affect the car that you choose to use. And when you're looking at a racetrack, I've got some pulled up here from a forum post. You see how some of these have a different color at certain parts. Like here, this is Parkland, the one with this cool swirly, it looks like a corkscrew, almost. I mean, if you zoom in, it's not, but the one that's got all these tight squiggles in the middle that are just a different color than the rest of the map. That portion of the map is dirt. And here, if we look at the Two Islands map that has this lighter color around this smaller island here, that's a dirt portion of the track. Or here's Mud Pit. This one is 100% dirt. Hammerhead, that's got a nice segment of dirt. And Stone Park. And then all the rest are only tarmac racetracks. So official races are important because that's how you get racing points to upgrade your car. Custom events are player hosted. Sometimes there are prizes, sometimes there aren't. Sometimes there are fees that are required to join, and sometimes there aren't. They can choose which track they want to go on, and they can choose how many laps to go on. So you can still gain racing experience or racing skill by doing custom events. And because I think one large factor to gaining racing skill is how much time you've spent actively driving in a race. A lot of people do even just what's up top right here, this grinded gears race. Or here's the docks. I think that's I think the docks might be the longest, one of the longest tracks. So people will do the docks and they'll do 100 laps on it. Yeah, a lot of people have done 100 laps on the docks because that's a really long race. So they can spend a lot of time and gain more racing experience that way. The race that we're hosting in about a week from yesterday, so this coming Saturday, it will have a $100,000 join fee. There will be a password to enter, and that password is Dollhouse, one word, lowercase. And if you forget that, it's also, you'll see it if you go to the sign-up sheet. It's listed on the sign-up sheet. So I think there are 30 spots on the sign-up sheet. So I'm hoping that gets filled up. That would be an extra few million in join fees going towards the prizes. So that would be, that'll be awesome. If I have one piece of advice to people about racing, it would be to reserve half of your points for reaching the next class. Because a common mistake that many players make including me, I made this mistake, was that as you start winning a lot of races in the very beginning, as you start winning a lot of official races in the very beginning and collecting racing points, don't spend all of them on upgrading your Class E car. Save as many as you can, because when you get to Class D, or every time you upgrade to the next class up, you want to purchase a new car, and you want to be able to upgrade it right away. Because if you're not able to upgrade it right away, you'll have a much more difficult time winning races and earning more race points. So if you spend all of your points upgrading your current car, when you upgrade, you'll have nothing left over. And you'll be stuck for a while. And there is a way to fix it if you get there, but it takes a little bit of patience. And it's basically one of the most common methods of progressing in your racing points is getting cars that are good on dirt tracks and trying to only race dirt tracks. Because most players go after the tarmac tracks and the tarmac cars for their racing. So the competition is just a lot easier on dirt tracks if you're using the right car for it. And I think one of the best dirt track cars of all the classes is actually Class B, and that's the Sierra Cosworth. That's the one that I've put so much of my racing points into. A friend of the Dollhouse actually donated a Sierra Cosworth to us, and so we're giving it away in this race. Now, I will say that racing in Torn City is largely a novelty area of the game, meaning it's just for fun, and for the most part, you're not going to make a lot of money, or sometimes you're not going to make any money at all. A lot of times you're not making any money at all racing. There are some exceptions to that, like this race that my friends are hosting, but generally Torn City racing is not a money maker. In fact, you spend money to do it. You have to spend money on the points and on the cars, and also while you're racing, you're not able to leave Torn City. Many players are frequently flying to other countries to import plushies and flowers, or possibly Xanax. So a lot of players are traveling a lot, and for those players, racing is not an appealing area of the game because it would get in the way of their traveling, and it would reduce the amount of money they're making from that. But at the same time, there are a lot of different play styles, and there is no right or wrong way to enjoy the game. Maybe with a few exceptions, it might not be good to be a very toxic player. Just saying that for the most part, racing is not a moneymaker, and it can actually get in the way of your time that you could be otherwise using to make more money. But it is fun. It is kind of a cool thing, and I'm not particularly huge into it myself, but some of my friends are, and I think it's a cool way to offer more prizes. And here I just wanted to show you guys a quick view of what it looks like when you're actively racing. I'm actually able to kind of replay this race after the fact and show you what it looked like. This is a race where I finished 8th out of 14, which is not anything I'm proud of, but you can kind of see there are these dots on the screen that are moving around the map. Those are obviously the different players' cars, and your own player is the dot that looks bigger than all the others, so I think I'm the purple one on the screen. And it's pretty cool. You can obviously see that the dots slow down around sharp corners and things like that. And what's fun is, especially on the dirt tracks, when you're using a car that's really good for dirt tracks, normally your dot will be falling behind the other cars until it reaches the dirt portion, and that's when you get to pass everybody because you're so much faster on dirt. This is about as exciting as it gets with racing. You know, you get to watch dots move across a map, and if you're lucky, you can find races that actually have prizes, because for the longest time I didn't realize that anybody really had races with really big prizes until I think it was probably, I want to mispronounce his name, but he's a friend of mine, Nike AB, Nike Ab. He's a friend that we've been in a lot of factions together. I've kind of followed his group around. And he hosted, man, I remember seeing faction races with, what was it, like over $100 million in prizes or something? I swear, I think it was something like that. So this race that we're doing isn't as big as that, but we do have some good prizes, and it'll be fun, and it'll be accessible to even new racers, which is what I'm most excited for. So that's pretty much it. Wanted to give away a donator pack since it's been a little while since I've posted a video and given one away. Wanted to let you guys know how the company was doing and talk about racing. I know I'm not an expert, so I'm sorry it's not a more thorough expert level guide, but I'll leave links in the description below to the racing guides that are out there. I can't beat those, but I can share them. I hope I gave you guys who've never seen racing before a little bit of a look into what it's like, knowing that there are different types of races. You get racing points, and there are different types of tracks that cars perform better or worse on. And definitely, if you catch this video early enough, join us in this race. It'll be fun, and we'll be excited to give away more prizes. Thanks, everybody.